Let me ask you something honest. Right now, in this exact moment, do you feel seen or do you feel watched? Because there's a difference, and most men today can't tell anymore. You wake up, you check your phone, 50 notifications from people who don't actually care about you, just performing their daily scroll, their daily judgment, their daily need to feel like they matter by monitoring what you're doing. And you feel it, don't you? That weight, that exhausting, soul-draining weight of being constantly available, constantly visible, constantly expected to show up, to post, to prove you're living some kind of life worth envying. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. The noise is killing you. Not physically, not yet, but spiritually, mentally, in ways you won't recognize until you're completely hollow inside. Modern society has built an entire system designed to keep you plugged in, distracted, dependent on external validation, and terrified, absolutely terrified of being alone with your own thoughts. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence for even 10 minutes without reaching for your phone, without turning on music, without filling the void with something, anything to avoid hearing your own mind? Most men can't do it anymore. They've been conditioned to fear solitude like it's some kind of disease, like being alone means you're a loser, like disappearing from the radar means you failed. But what if I told you the opposite was true? What if the most powerful thing you could do right now, today, is to completely vanish, to disappear from social media, from the group chats, from the expectations, from the fake friendships that only exist in pixels and double taps? What if the secret to becoming the man you actually want to be isn't found in the noise, but in the silence? The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone alive today. Seneca, one of the greatest minds in human history, wrote this: "Without solitude, no serious work is possible. Not maybe possible, not kind of possible. No serious work is possible." Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, the emperor who could have had anything, anyone, anytime, used to retreat into himself constantly, writing in his private journals, reminding himself of this truth. People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains. You are very much in the habit of yearning for those same things, but this is entirely the treat of a base person when you can, at any moment, find such a retreat in yourself. Read that again in your mind. At any moment, you can retreat into yourself. You don't need permission, you don't need a vacation, you don't need to wait for the perfect time. You can disappear right now, internally, and begin the work of rebuilding who you are. But let's be real about why most men won't do this. It's because modern society has weaponized your fear of missing out. FOMO isn't just some trendy acronym, it's a psychological prison. You've been trained to believe that if you're not constantly consuming, constantly connected, constantly visible, you're somehow falling behind, missing opportunities, losing relevance. The algorithm feeds you this lie every single day. Stay plugged in or become invisible. Stay distracted or face yourself. Keep performing or admit you're not enough. And so you scroll, you post, you react, you compare, you chase the dopamine hit of likes and comments and shares, all while your real life, your actual potential, your genuine self slowly disappears behind a mask of curated bullshit that even you don't believe anymore. Here's what nobody tells you. The most dangerous thing about constant connectivity isn't that it wastes your time, it's that it prevents you from knowing who you actually are. When you're always reacting to other people's lives, other people's opinions, other people's expectations, you never develop your own. You become a mirror, reflecting whatever's in front of you, with no substance, no core, no real identity underneath. This is why disappearing is so powerful. Not running away, not hiding from responsibility, but strategically, intentionally removing yourself from the noise to do the deep work that actually transforms you. Some people call it monk mode, others call it a reset, a detox, a rebirth. Call it whatever you want, but the concept is ancient and it works. For 30 days, for 60 days, for however long it takes, you cut off the distractions, you eliminate the fake connections, you stop seeking validation from people who wouldn't cross the street to help you, and you go inward. You start asking the questions that matter. Who am I when nobody's watching? What do I actually want, not what I've been told to want? What kind of man do I need to become to build the life I actually respect? And here's what happens when you embrace this solitude. Real, genuine transformation. First, your focus becomes surgical. When you're not fragmenting your attention across 15 apps, 20 group chats, endless streams of content designed to keep you weak and distracted, your mind consolidates its power. You can actually think deeply again. You can work on projects that require sustained attention. You can read books that challenge you, build skills that compound, build things that last. The average man today has the attention span of a goldfish because he's been trained that way. But you, by disappearing, you reclaim your cognitive sovereignty. Second, you discover what you're actually made of. Solitude is a mirror that shows you everything: your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your potential. Most people avoid this mirror because they don't like what they see. But strong men, stoic men, they lean into it. They use solitude as a forge, burning away the weak parts, tempering the strong parts, becoming harder, sharper, more resilient. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your discomfort with being alone is not a weakness to avoid. It's the exact obstacle you need to overcome to become powerful. Third, you detach from the need for external validation. And brother, this might be the most liberating thing that ever happens to you. When you stop checking to see if people liked your post, stop wondering if you're invited to things, stop measuring your worth by how many texts you get or how busy your social calendar looks, you realize something profound. Most of that validation was empty anyway. It didn't fill you up. It just kept you dependent, kept you performing, kept you weak. Real confidence doesn't come from applause. It comes from knowing, deeply knowing that you're building something real, something that matters, something that would exist even if nobody ever saw it. So how do you actually do this? How do you disappear and use solitude to reinvent yourself? Here's the practical blueprint. First, you set a time frame. I recommend minimum 30 days to actually feel the effects. You announce nothing, you explain nothing, you just stop showing up where you've been showing up. Delete the apps or log out, turn off notifications, make yourself unreachable except for true emergencies. Second, you create structure, because freedom without discipline is just chaos. You wake up early, same time every day. You exercise, you work on your purpose, your business, your craft, your mission. You read, you journal, you plan. You fill the time you used to waste scrolling with activities that actually build you. Third, you embrace the discomfort. The first week will be weird, maybe even painful. You'll feel the urge to check, to reconnect, to see what you're missing. Sit with that urge, observe it like a scientist. That discomfort is your addiction withdrawing, your ego dying, your old self realizing it's being replaced. Good, let it hurt. That's growth. Fourth, you use this time for deep self-reflection. Every day, write down what you learned about yourself. What patterns do you notice? What fears keep appearing? What dreams have you been suppressing? What kind of man would you respect if you met him? Start building a vision of that man, and then start becoming him. One decision, one action, one disciplined day at a time. And here's what happens when you embrace this solitude. Real, genuine transformation. Here's the beautiful truth about disappearing. When you come back, and you will come back, you return as a different man. You're calmer because you've sat with your chaos. You're stronger because you've done the work nobody sees. You're focused because you've learned what actually matters. You're confident because your worth isn't tied to anyone's opinion anymore. You've built something real in that silence, a foundation, a purpose, a version of yourself that doesn't need validation because it's validated by the work, by the growth, by the transformation you've lived through. The world will always try to keep you plugged in, distracted, dependent, weak. It profits from your attention, your insecurity, your fear of being alone. But you have the power to reject all of that. You have the power to disappear, to go inward, to do the sacred work of becoming. Seneca said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Not the man with the most followers, not the man with the most friends, not the man who's always available and always performing. The man who owns himself, who knows himself, who's done the work in solitude that most men are too scared to even begin. So I'll leave you with this challenge. What if you disappeared for 30 days, starting today? What if you turned off the noise, faced yourself, and built the life you actually want instead of the one you're performing for strangers? What if the person you're meant to become is waiting for you on the other side of that silence? You already know the answer. The only question is whether you're brave enough to find out. Now go, disappear, and become.